everybody. I'm Dr. Kristen Donnelly, and you are very welcome to this edition of Abbey Research Reads, where I am talking about the 2021 memoir, Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zauner. I believe that's how I say it. That's how a lot of the media has said it. I hope I'm correct. Crying in H Mart is honestly one of the best memoirs I've read in a minute because it's entirely about food. But not from a chef perspective. So Michelle is somebody who was, her mother was Korean. This is about grieving her mother. It's about grief and food. So her mother was Korean, her father was American, and when her mother died, she lost what she felt her entire connection to her Korean side was. And so she talks about showing up in H Mart, which is an Asian supermarket that I personally frequent and love a lot, and sitting in the food court and crying because of that she didn't know if she belonged there anymore. Throughout the book, we learn a lot about the Korean American immigrant experience from Michelle's perspective about her mother. And the process of her mother's death, honestly, is a big part of this book. The process of grieving, the process of learning how to cook, the process of how the culture that her mother grew up in South Korea even handles death. So it's about food, grief, family, identity, and it's one of those books that is so specific that is completely universal. When my mother dies, I will not lose my only connection to my family or to my culture. I will lose a part of my soul, but I won't lose this. However, the way that she talks about watching mothers after her mother dies, I felt in my gut that that's how I will feel when my mom finally passes. And when I talk to my aunts and my mother, how they felt when my grandmother passed. We are all Americans in that the immigrants that we came from assimilated very intensely, and we don't really claim a secondary culture in the way that a lot of other immigrant groups do. I'm half Danish and half Scottish, and they were very assimilatory groups. So I don't have like I need to eat this Scottish food because I ate it growing up, or this is the Danish food I ate growing up, with a couple key exceptions that I was, because of just some life exceptions, I was able to cultivate for myself, including going to Denmark to see my family and make my own connections to my Danish side, but both before and after my gran on my father's side passed on. However, like I said, so all of the ingredients that are childhood to me, honestly, are like TV dinners and Salisbury steak. We weren't a very adventurous family growing up, but I definitely associate food with love and always have. I knew my mother didn't love cooking. She was never shy about it. She still doesn't love it, but she did it for us all the time because that was part of how she loved us. The utilitarianness of cooking is also a form of love. And when I read Crying in H Mart, one of the things that really got me more than anything else was, in fact, that food is love. It is an embodiment of how we care and how we move through the world for each other. I loved this book. I ate it up in one sitting. I waited months for it on the hold list at the library. And when I finally got it, I think I told everybody like, oh, Crying in H Mart finally came in. This is my weekend. I'm reading it entirely in one sitting. And I did. I was immersed in this world. The writing is gorgeous. The emotions are honest and not manipulative. And it is a shining example of a great memoir. In terms of an empathy read, this is one for grief, one for Korean culture, one for food, one for being a fraction kid, which is often what, people of many cultures call themselves, being a fractional Korean in that way. And what motherhood and grief looks like, all of it. It's a massive empathy read, and we cannot recommend it highly enough. That's me for this time. I am Dr. Kristen Donnelly. This has been Abbey Research Reads with a 2 massive thumbs up for Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zauner. We'll see you guys next time.